Hi. Welcome to the Human Design for Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Yvette Mayer, and this show's for you if you're done with cookie cutter marketing and ready to build your personal brand in alignment with who you really are. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Human Design for Marketing podcast and my series on the 12 lessons from 2024. In this one, we are on lesson 3, which is the lessons from March. And as always, I'm going to start with some highlights or where my energy was focused during the month. And a lot of this is going to be business related, but not all. And then I'll also get into what I actually learnt about myself and took away from this month. And it is proving to be so valuable to go over and do this. So I want to also encourage you to go back over your year as we walk through this series. So March. Okay, so the last thing I left you with was an abundant February, lots of work energy, launching, all the good things, and then a little bit of a disaster at the end where I put petrol in my diesel van. But moving into March, I had this sense of, wow, my business is working so well, but I also need to continually refine my business model so that I don't burn myself out. And I realized that I was actually feeling quite burnt out from such a big push in February. And that's not necessarily the way that I want to run my business, to have these big live pushes in my business that requires, and it's not just the effort, it's the pressure on results that I was feeling. It's like must have big financial results through big effort for my business to be sustainable. And so I was aware that I needed more guidance. I needed more support. So early in the month, I decided to go on a business retreat. Now, this is very different from the energy of the yoga retreat that I'd just been on, which was offline, disconnected from technology, all of that good stuff. It was business focused, more to the point. And so I booked in for this retreat towards the end of the month with an ambition to go to really activate something in myself that would help me relook at how I was doing things in my business. Now, I didn't have a huge amount of expectation about what I was going to get out of this. I just wanted to be around other women that had successful 6-7-figure businesses, be in a space of inspiration and seeing others who were doing things differently to me, and allow that just to come through for me. And so I will say that this was absolutely the highlight of the month, this experience of getting out of my everyday. I traveled to Byron Bay, which is one of my favorite places. Love. Always keen to go for a trip to Byron Bay. And I had, oh my God, the accommodation was so fantastic. Like the whole thing was brilliant. What ended up happening for me, and I don't think it's very surprising to hear, is that I had this realization that I'd been yet again allowing my open will center to be in the energy of proving my worth through business success. And this constant push for outcomes, results was something that I was holding in my system that I needed to learn how to release somewhat and trust myself and my impact and my brilliance and my work more so, but also to create a different model in my business that meant that I wasn't going through these roller coaster emotions that come with live launching. Also, fun fact, March continues with solar plexus gates, so very emotional energy, particularly it's around the first half of the month. All of the feelings gates. So all of the feelings were coming up for me. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like everything's amazing, like biggest, best start to the year of my 6 years in entrepreneurship. And yet I feel burnt out and I don't feel as lit up as I want to. And so the biggest takeaway from the retreat was that my life force energy needed to become my currency more than money, more than other metrics of success. It was, am I lit up? Am I actually doing the things that give me more energy, not take energy away from me? So highlight was this self-discovery and this realization that it was time for a change to my business model to really take advantage of different ways to bring people into the Frequency Project and other ways to monetize my work that could help even more people and more scale. And so I was excited, but unsure, because when you've been doing something for a long time that worked, and I'd been live launching for years as my primary sales strategy in my business, I had some resistance around changing things and fear that whilst I knew that that needed to be the future, that it would cause just less security in the financial side of my business. And so that was an interesting piece for me. The other thing that was going on was I was deep in my YouTube channel. So up until that point, a lot of the investment that I put into creating and filming and going live with my channel had been outsourced as part of my initial, I hired a producer, I did it on a really grand scale, but there was always this vision that after the first 3 months, that a lot of the work needed to come back in-house. Like I literally couldn't afford to continue in the way that the channel was launched. And it was always the goal to kind of launch it, create the style, the look, get the processes in place, and then migrate it. And what was happening was I was starting to resent my YouTube channel. And so I felt drained by it, and like, I'm working too hard, I'm working too many hours. I didn't feel free in my business as much as I value feeling free. And so whilst part of me wanted to immediately close up, because I'd invested a lot of money into my YouTube channel, and I'll be transparent, I'd invested $50,000, which is not to be sneezed at. I wasn't willing to discontinue, because that I just couldn't stomach actually that level of investment and then not closing the loop, which was doing all 64 gates. So at this point, I'd done 12 gates of a 64 gate series. And I really started to resent this whole process and think that it was a bad financial decision. And that side of March was quite challenging. But also needed to happen for me to re-look at how I was doing things in the editing and the release of the channel. And what ended up needing to happen is for me to lean far more heavily on my team, and to re-look at the project management side of the channel. So I really handed over the project management to my senior VA. And from that moment on, really only did what I had to do as the talent in the YouTube channel to support me in getting it done. So big lesson there. I think if I look back further, maybe the lesson was I didn't have enough clarity and relied too much on hope and prayer with the YouTube channel. Maybe a bit of expectation and assumption as well. And I won't make a decision of that scale in that way ever again in my business. Strangely, I don't regret it though, because I have ended up finishing that 64 gate series, and I know that it's a huge part of my success. So there's more to unpack in the YouTube channel and how that unfolded throughout the rest of this year, to fast forward to today, where I'm absolutely thrilled to have completed all 64 gates. It is such a phenomenal body of work. It has paid itself back, or begun to pay itself back, in being part of how we've attracted lots of clients into particular products. And I feel very satisfied that this is out in the world. So that's quite interesting as well. To get to the very end of the month, I did make another big decision based on everything you've just heard, and that was to hire a business coach that was really strong in the area of nervous system regulation, because I certainly felt dysregulated during March from the YouTube channel, from the knowing that things needed to change and not how to do that. And I hadn't had a business coach for 14 months by then. And I'd built this part of my business, Human Design for Marketing, by trusting myself and most of the time being rigorous around what are like my intentions here, and taking inspired action and actually following through, and things were working. Like, I'd actually had the most successful year in business that I'd had for years, but without a business coach, when I'd actually had been in coaching containers for 4 years consecutively prior to this year. So that, there was a little bit of, well, I've actually done this all myself, ego, but quickly let go, because I knew that what got me to where I was in that moment wasn't going to get me where I needed to go. And so I hired a fabulous coach to support me. And that was a really big financial decision, and something that I'm so grateful to past me for having done that, because the way that 2024 has, I'll use that word again, unfolded, has been absolutely beautiful. And I know that that was a really key decision in the process. So big lessons in the month was that when you're feeling dysregulated, or if you're a generator and you're feeling drained, that it's time to stop, to relook at things and make tough decisions. That would be my biggest lesson of the month, and that played out in all the pieces of my business, whether that was my marketing, my YouTube channel, how I was running my programs, how I was launching my programs. Everything needed to have a level of, let's relook at this and make sure that we're doing things correctly. And that's how I finished March 2024. Thanks for being with me. Don't forget to play along at home. I would love you to go and have a look at your March and what your biggest lessons and takeaway were. And I look forward to being back in your ears real soon with lesson 4. Bye for now. There are heaps more resources in the show notes. I can't wait to be back in your ears again soon. Bye for now.